Cars Keys is brought to you by TixBlitz.com. TixBlitz.com. No service fees. The price you see is the price you pay, plus shipping. TixBlitz.com. Every ticket, every venue, everywhere.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? It's Cars here, doing my review of the Bears-Giants game. As you can imagine, doing this hasn't been pretty. I've kind of thought for a while of how I want to go about this, because it's been a range of emotions isn't the right word, but it's been a range of feelings. You know, when I watched the game, to say I was angry was kind of not an accurate statement. I was more disappointed because we hadn't really learned our lesson after the Dolphins game, where we just flat out didn't show up. Right? There was a lot of plays that were left there. You know, a lot of effort was lacking. It was very sloppy overall. But as I watched this game a second time, and please don't try to do that. It's worse the second time through. It's like that bad aftertaste of something disgusting that you just drank, like Malort. It turned to anger. And so I'm going to review a couple of things that I think stand out to me. These are things that I don't want to see carry over to LA. I do think we have a good chance of beating an LA team. You know, Detroit actually did a really admirable job of hanging in there. They really played very aggressively. They punched LA in the face, and Goff had a hard time. He struggled quite a bit.
Goff is sacked, and the ball is loose, and it looks like the Lions might have it. Goff lost a pair of fumbles in that wild one against Kansas City. One was returned for a touchdown.
Although he did continue to make a lot of the throws that kind of put me in awe in his timing. But they did make him struggle there until the end, and then the talent really just played out, which candidly was also what my expectation when the game started, and it started so poorly that in the end the Bears' talent would just win out, and that just didn't happen. So I'm going to highlight kind of two or three things here that I think we need to be wary of, and I'm going to start off on the defense. And they're going to take a lot of blame. Vic really was overly conservative. Early on, it was working. We were actually able to get in with 4 on pressure, right? We made a lot of things happen. But when that stopped working, it just felt like he wasn't being aggressive enough. He was letting the offense kind of dictate to him what was happening. And that's especially true in the run game. I mean, Saquon Barkley is an extremely gifted runner. You know, coming into this game, he was leading the NFL in yards after the catch. He's always good for 1 or 2 explosive plays a game. We saw that again.
Barkley in the game. Saquon Barkley gets the toss. Saquon Barkley with a first down and a lot more. Barkley still going. Saquon Barkley. What a run.
He's just really good, but I think Todd Gurley is kind of that next level, and that's who we're going to face. But for 2 weeks in a row now, we've really struggled with the run. It started against that Detroit game where LeGarrette Blount was able to put up 88 yards on 19 carries. We all kind of wrote that off as well. The Bears were tired. They had to play the games, on Sunday. They were just worn out. And, that carried over until this week. It was just kind of like that Lions game where the Bears started strong, defending the run. They started to hit Blount pretty good, and then that second half came along, and that went out the window. Well, that happened again this week. Up until that post-timeout run, the Bears had done a really good job of bottling up Saquon, really making him work for yardage, really making him just churn for not a lot of yards. And I thought guys like Hakeem Hicks obviously did very well. Bilal Nichols, again, was continuing to flash. I do find it interesting, by the way, that he played a lot more snaps than Roy Robertson Harris. But that play seemed to set off all the nightmares of the week past. And after that, those 2-3 yard runs that Barkley was getting just started to become 5 and 6, and chunk after chunk were coming up. And we just, if it wasn't sloppy tackling, it was poor execution. And these are things, like I said, that showed up big time in that Detroit loss. And if we want to rewind back even further, those were things that showed up in that Miami loss against Drake and against Frank Gore. We got pretty sloppy there against the receivers, but it also happens in the run game.
Here's 2nd and 8. Gore up the middle. Frank Gore breaks loose inside the 10 and brought down at the 7-yard line.
And when we allow a team to be two-dimensional, at least a threat of two dimensions, it's really seemed to change Vic's aggressiveness on the pass defense, and we really got too passive. So in the end, the Giants were able to use some of the larger players against us in a nickel formation, and guys like Roquan kind of missed a tackle in the hole, and Trevathan kind of missed a few, and there's a few others that just going for the boom instead of the sure thing. And I think, if there's one cause for concern against the Rams, is these guys are so shifty, they're so fast, you have to play sure. And because we're just seeing this happen in these losses where we get really sloppy, that's something that I think is inexcusable and really needs to be a focus this week. But if I want to switch to the offensive side, that was just about as poor as you can play. So I'm gonna talk about two players. I'm not going to say anything that probably people haven't thought, but if we want to talk about our starting right guard, who I will not name because he doesn't deserve to be our starting right guard, that his play was just absolutely atrocious. And I think some of the reason that we kind of got away from running the ball late in the second half was just that his play, especially in the run game, was so bad. We didn't just want to risk it. B.J. Hall picked up 3 sacks. Those were all over him.
Pressure coming. Daniel in trouble. He sacks. 2nd sack of the day for B.J. Hill.
I mean, you give up 3 sacks to an interior lineman, that's never a good day. We went ahead and gave up 5 sacks to a defense that came in with a total of 14. The line play was concerning. Some of that was issues to Chase Daniel, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But really, when you're starting just a sieve at the right guard position, Aaron Donald's going to be there all game. That's where he's going to line up. That's going to be his guy. And that could make for a very long day. So schematically, the Bears have to find ways to trick that up. And unfortunately for Phil, I think that means we're going to see a steady dose of Michael Burton in the backfield trying to help out on the run game. I think until they can figure out some of that protection schemes from that right guard slot, unless they want to bring out Coward to play in this game because of his size, because of his physicality, I would definitely not be against that, but you do have to wonder about how his confidence could be going into a game like that if he does have to face Donald and Donald kind of make some big plays. But I think for the sake of this team, Coward needs to be your right guard going against LA. Last but not least, I'll talk briefly about Chase Daniel, and I've never seen a game like that ever. And I mean, that Rex Grossman against Arizona Cardinals game looks like a masterpiece compared to what Chase just threw up. I mean, 2 interceptions, there should have been at least 2 more, bunch of fumbles, right? It was ugly, and in a week after he had looked so good in a Detroit game, and again, a Detroit team that actually plays extremely well at Detroit, right? That's part of the reason that they gave the Rams such a hard time, is they're very good home team. It was the exact opposite today. From focusing too much on Tariq and Allen Robinson, which in some ways you can't blame him, but he missed a lot of Anthony Miller, who had some bad drops. He completely ignored Trey Burton. Adam Shaheen just wasn't on the field enough. I think he ended up playing less snaps than Taquan Mizell, which is another cause for concern for me going forward, is the amount of snaps that Mizell is seeing in extremely predictable circumstances. But Chase was just inaccurate. He couldn't get under the ball the right way. He wasn't seeing the field right. He took the old Cade McNown, fuck it, go deep, I think, a little bit too seriously. But when he did it right, I mean, he just missed plays. He left a good 14 points on the field with just, not just slightly underthrown, but horribly underthrown passes. One to Cohen, and I believe the other was to Taylor Gabriel. Just really bad plays. And, you know, Mitch has been torn apart throughout the national media, but in some ways this down-to-earth game is going to take a lot of the pressure off of him, because now everyone around the league is going to have to appreciate how good he is for us and how his ceiling is going to take off. And I do want to leave on some positive news, right? But if you look into this, we are now still in first place. I don't think I would have expected that to be in first place by a game and a half at this point. The Vikings are crumbling, it seems. The Packers have completely imploded, and Aaron Rodgers is celebrating getting his coach fired. The Detroit Lions are going to Detroit Lions. But my stat I want to leave everybody with that I put in my article, but I just love so much. Mitch has played 2 less games than every quarterback in the NFC North. He already has 2 more touchdowns than Matt Stafford, still, who Lions fans love to call elite. He has 1 less touchdown than God himself, Aaron Rodgers. And he's got 3 touchdowns less than Kirk Cousins in 2 less games. So he might not be perfect, but one of these quarterbacks is definitely ascending, and the other 3 are actually treading water or on the decline. So look for me on Thursday to talk a little bit about my keys to this game against the Rams. It is going to be a fun one to put together for sure, but looking forward to it. Love the feedback. Thanks for listening. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at CarsKeys1. Or you can read anything that I put up in the bar room. This week I will have an article talking about what's going on in the NFL. Should be dropping off around the same time as this podcast. But otherwise, I will talk to you guys later. Thanks.
Hey, Bears Girl, what's your favorite jingle of all time?
Well, although I've got to say, it's the Kit Kat one.
Give me a break, give me a break, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Oh yes, I'm loving it. Memorable, catchy, and instantly connects with the brand.
You know who else is looking for a memorable jingle? TickSplits.com, and they're willing to give away a free ticket to the Chicago Bears Green Bay Packers game for a good one.
I knew that. A ticket to the game, and we'll set up a meet and greet with the winner and members of the bar room and other barflies. It will be fun. Bears Go, give our listeners some of the particulars while I try to come up with some TickSplits sample jingles. Like, for instance, how about this one? Like a good ticket broker, TickSplits is there.
Please, although, no, that's not a good one. No. Okay, here's what you need to do, Bears fans and barflies. Step 1. Record an amazing, catchy 10 to 30 second jingle for TickSplits to use on their social media promos. It can be audio only or a video entry. Step 2. Submit it via Twitter and make sure you tag both at Bears Barroom and at TickSplits. Step 3. Send a copy via email to marketing@ticksplits.com. That's marketing@TIXBLITZ.com with Bears Barroom in the subject line. Contest runs from November 19th until December 5th, and the winner will be announced on December 10th. Full contest details are available on bearsbarroom.com.
All right, you gave me an idea for another one. TIXBLITZ.
No.
Nothing like that?
No.
How about this one? You deserve some tickets today, so get up and call TickSplits.
No, please make sure that you're not using any trademarks or copyright infringements. Be creative, and as Matt Nagy says, be you. So head over to Bears Barroom for all the details. Submit as often as you want. Just please make them better than Aldo's.